Book 12. All the blessings which you pray to obtain hereafter could be yours today if you did not deny them to yourself. You have only to have done with the past altogether, commit the future to Providence, and simply seek to direct the present hour aright into the paths of holiness and justice. Holiness by a love and acceptance of your apportioned lot, since nature produced it for you, and you for it. Justice in your speech by a frank and straightforward truthfulness, and in your acts by a respect for law and for every man's rights. Allow yourself, too, no hindrance from the malice, misconceptions, or slanders of others, nor yet any sensations this fleshly frame may feel. Its afflicted part will look to itself. The hour for your departure draws near. If you will but forget all else and pay sole regard to the helmsman of your soul and the divine spark within you, if you will but exchange your fear of having to end your life some day for a fear of failing even to begin it on nature's true principles, you can yet become a man worthy of the universe that gave you birth, instead of a stranger in your own homeland, bewildered by each day's happenings as though by wonders unlooked for and ever hanging upon this one or the next. God views the inner minds of men stripped of every material sheath and husk and dross. Acting through his thought alone, he makes contact solely with that in them which is an outflow from himself. School yourself to do likewise, and you will be spared many a distraction. For who looks past this fleshy covering will ever harass himself with visions of raiment, housing, reputation, or any of the rest of life's costume and scenery? You are composed of three parts: body, breath, and mind. The first two merely belong to you in the sense that you are responsible for their care. The last alone is truly yours. If then you put away from this real self, from your understanding that is, everything that others do or say and everything you yourself did or said in the past, together with every anxiety about the future, and everything affecting the body or its partner breath that is outside your own control, as well as everything that swirls about you in the eddy of outward circumstance, so that the powers of your mind keep thus aloof and unspotted from all that destiny can do, may live their own in independence, doing what is just, consenting to what befalls, and speaking what is true. If, I say, you put away from this master faculty of yours every such clinging attachment, and whatever lies in the years ahead or the years behind, teaching yourself to become what Empedocles calls a totally rounded orb, in its own rotundity joying, and to be concerned solely with the life which you are now living, the life of the present moment, then, until death comes, you will be able to pass the rest of your days in freedom from all anxiety, and in kindliness and good favour with the deity within you. I often marvel how it is that though each man loves himself beyond all else, he should yet value his own opinion of himself less than that of others. Assuredly, if some god or sage counsellor were to stand beside him and bid him harbour no thought or purpose in his heart without straightway publishing it abroad, he could not endure it for so much as a single day. So much more regard have we for our neighbour's judgment of us than for our own. Can the gods, who have contrived all else so well and so benevolently, have overlooked this one thing, that even eminently virtuous men in the closest correspondence with the divine and living in intimate union with it through their good works and devotion, should know no rebirth after their death, but be doomed to utter extinction? However, should this indeed be their lot, rest assured that if there had been need for some different plan, it would have been so ordained, have it accorded with nature. Nature would have brought it to pass. Therefore, from its not being so, if in truth it is not, you may have all confidence that it ought not to be so. Surely you can see that in raising idle questions like this you are indicting the deity? Or should we even be joining the issue with the gods in this way, unless they were supremely good and just? And if they are, how could they have permitted anything to be unfairly or unreasonably neglected in their dispositions for the universe? Practice, even when success looks hopeless. The left hand, inept in other respects for lack of practice, can grasp the reins more firmly than the right, because here it has had practice. Meditate upon what you ought to be in body and soul when death overtakes you. Meditate upon the brevity of life and the measureless gulfs of eternity behind it and before, and upon the frailty of everything material. Look at the inmost causes of things, stripped of their husks. Note the intentions that underlie actions. Study the essence of pain, pleasure, death, glory. Observe how man's disquiet is all of his own making, and how troubles come never from another's hand, but like all else are creatures of their own opinion. In the management of your principles, take example by the pugilist, not the swordsman. One puts down his blade and has to pick it up again. The other is never without his hand, and so needs only to clench it. See what things consist of. Resolve them in their matter, form, and purpose. How ample are the privileges vouchsafed to man, to do nothing but what God will approve, and accept everything God may assign. No blame for the order of things can lie with the gods, since nothing amiss can be done by them, even willingly or otherwise, nor yet with men, whose misdoings are none of their own volition. Abstain them from all thoughts of blame. How ludicrous and outlandish is astonishment at anything that happens in life! There is a doom inexorable, and a law inviolable, or there is a providence that can be merciful, or else there is chaos that is purposeless and ungoverned. If a resistless fate, why try to struggle against it? If a providence willing to show mercy, do your best to deserve its divine succor. If a chaos undirected, give thanks that amid such stormy seas you have within you a mind at the helm. If the waters overwhelm you, let them overwhelm flesh, breath, and all else, but they will never make shipwreck of your mind. Does the lantern's flame shine with undimmed brilliance until it is quenched, yet shall truth, wisdom, and justice die within you before you yourself are extinguished? At the impression that somebody has done wrong, reflect, what certainty have I that it is wrong? Furthermore, even if it is, may he not already have reproached himself for it, fully as much as though his nails had visibly rent his features? To wish that a rogue would never do wrong is like wishing that fig trees would never have any sour juice in their fruit, infants never cry, horses never neigh, or any other of life's inevitabilities never come to pass. How, pray, could he act otherwise, with the characters he has? If you find it so vexatious, then reform it. If it is not the right thing to do, never do it. If it is not the truth, never say it. Keep your impulses in hand. Always look at the whole of a thing. What is it that makes impression on you, that open it up and dissect it into cause, matter, purpose, and the length of time before it must end? Try to see, before it is too late, that you have within you something higher and more godlike than mere instincts which move your emotions and twitch you like a puppet. Which of these is it then that is clouding my understanding at this moment? Fear, jealousy, lust, or some other? Firstly, avoid all actions that are haphazard or purposeless, and secondly, let every action aim solely at the common good. Soon enough, remember, you yourself must become a vagrant thing of nothingness. Soon enough, everything that now meets your eye, together with all those in whom is now the breath of life, must be no more. For all things are born to change and pass away and perish, that others in their turn may come to be. Everything is but what your opinion makes of it, and that opinion lies with yourself. Renounce it when you will, and at once you have rounded the foreland and all is calm, a tranquil sea, a tideless haven. When an operation, no matter of what sort, is brought to a close at the right moment, the stoppage does it no harm, and the agent himself is no worse for discontinuing his action. So with life itself, which is nothing but the totality of all our operations, also ceases when the time comes. It takes no hurt by its mere cessation, nor is he adversely affected who thus brings the whole series of its operations to its timely conclusion. But the proper hour and term are fixed by nature, if not by man's own nature, as for example through old age, then all events by great nature herself, by whose continuous renewing of her every part the universe remains forever young and vigorous. Whatever serves the purpose of the whole is kept always fair and blooming. It follows then that the ending of his life can be no evil to a man, for being a thing outside his control and innocent of all self-seeking, there is nothing in it to degrade him. Nay, it is even a good, inasmuch as for the universe it is something opportune, serviceable, and in keeping with all else. Thus, by following the way of God and being at one with him in thought, man is borne onward by the divine hand. There are 3 counsels worth keeping in mind. The first concerns actions. These should never be undertaken at random, nor in ways unsanctioned by justice. You must remember that all outward events are the result of either chance or providence, and you cannot reprimand chance or impeach providence. In the second place, think well what everything is, from earliest seed to birth of soul, and from soul's birth to its ultimate surrender, what the thing is compounded of, and what it will dissolve into. Thirdly, imagine yourself suddenly carried up into the clouds and looking down on the whole panorama of human activities, how the scene would excite your contempt, and that you could discern the multitude of aerial and heavenly beings who throng around them. Furthermore, reflect no matter how often upborne in this way, you would still behold the same sights in all their monotony and transience. Yet these are the things of which we make such a boast. Once dismiss the view you take, and you are out of danger. Who, then, is hindering such dismissal? When you let yourself feel resentment at a thing, you forget that nothing can come about except in obedience to nature, that any misconduct in the matter was none of yours, and moreover, that this is the only way in which things have always happened, will always happen, and do always happen. You are forgetting, too, the closeness of man's brotherhood with this kind, a brotherhood not of blood or human seed, but of a common intelligence, and that this intelligence in every man is God, an emanation from the deity. You forget that nothing is properly a man's own, for even his child, his body, his soul itself, all come from this same God. Also that all things depend upon opinion. Also that the passing moment is all that a man can ever live or lose. Ponder the lives of the men who have set no bands to their passions, the men who have reached the very summits of glory, disaster, odium, or any other of the peaks of chance, and then consider, where are they all now? Vapor, ashes, a tale, perhaps not even a tale. Contemplate the numerous examples. Fabius Catilinus on his estate, Lucius Lupus in his gardens, Stertinius at Baia, Tiberius at Capri, Vilius Rufus, any instance at all of what pride can set its heart upon. How ignoble are all their strivings! How much more befitting a philosopher it were to aim at justice, temperance, and fealty to the gods, yet always with simplicity, for the pride that swells beneath a garb of humility is of all things the most intolerable. To those who insist, where have you ever seen the gods, and how can you be so assured of their existence that you worship them in this way? My answer is, for one thing, they are perfectly visible to my eye. For another, I have never seen my own soul either, but none the less do I venerate that. So it is with the gods. It is experience which proves their power every day, and therefore I am satisfied that they exist, and I do them reverence. For a life that is sound and secure, cultivate a thorough insight into things and discover their essence, matter, and cause. Put your whole heart into doing what is just, and speaking what is true, and for the rest, know the joy of life by piling good deed on good deed until no rift or cranny appears between them. Sunlight is all one, even when it is broken up by walls, mountains, and a host of other things. Substance is all one, even when it is parcelled out among the numberless living bodies of different sorts, each with its own special qualities. Soul is all one, even when it is distributed among countless natures of every kind in countless differing proportions. Even soul that is gifted with the additional quality of thought, though apparently divisible, is likewise all one. For the other parts of all those organisms, their breath, for example, are material things, incapable of sensation, which have no affinity with each other, and are only kept together by the unifying pressure of gravitation. But thought, by its very nature, tends spontaneously towards anything of its own kind and mingles with it, so that the instinct for unity is not frustrated. Why do you hunger for length of days? Is it to experience sensations and desires, or increase or cessation of growth? Is it to make use of the powers of speech or thought? Does any of these things really seem worth coveting? Then, if you think them beneath your notice, press on towards the final goal of all, which is the following of reason and of God. But to prize this, you must remember, is incompatible with any feelings of resentment that death will rob you of the others. How small a fraction of all measureless infinity of time is allotted to each one of us, an instant, and it vanishes into eternity. How puny, too, is your portion of all the world's substance, how insignificant your share of all the world's soul, how minute a speck of the whole earth do you creep. As you ponder these things, Make up your mind that nothing is of any import save to do what your own nature directs, and to bear what the world's nature sends you. How is my soul's helmsman going about his task? For in that lies everything. All else, within my control or beyond it, is dead bones and vapour. Nothing will more encourage a contempt for death than the reflection that even men who accounted pleasure a good, and pain an evil, have nevertheless been able to despise it. When a man finds his soul good in that which the appointed hour brings him, when he cares not if his actions may be many or few, so they accord with strict reason, when it matters not to him whether his glimpse of this world will be long or fleeting, not death itself can be a thing of terror for him. O man, citizenship of this great world city has been yours. Whether for 5 years or 50, what is that to you? Whatever the law of that city decrees is fair to you one and all alike. Wherein then is your grievance? You are not ejected from this city by any unjust judge or tyrant, but by the self-same nature which brought you into it, just as when an actor is dismissed by the manager who engaged him. But I have played no more than 3 of the 5 acts. Just so, in your drama of life, 3 acts are all the play. Its point of completeness is determined by him who firmly sanctioned your creation, and today sanctions your dissolution. Neither of these decisions lay within yourself. Pass on your way then, with a smiling face, under the smile of him who bids you go.